Shall I?
I have just done that.
There we go.
Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for this talk on supporting socially distanced learning with Moodle. The context is, as we all know, the post-lockdown, post-COVID or during COVID, return to education for a lot of our schools, colleges, universities here in the UK and elsewhere. So I have presented this in the French version back in Moodle Mood Global in July with Sam, but there was a demand for an English version, so we tried to put this together and also update it a little bit. If during this talk you want to share things on Twitter or social media, you feel free to use the CAD Web Series hashtag, so we can actually go back and reply to you or see pointers that you've shared as well. Thank you.
Okay, so just a quick overview about who we are. So Aurelie and I, we're at Catalyst, and we are a global company. So we have offices in New Zealand, in Australia. We are hosted based in Brighton. However, those of you that know us, Aurelie and I don't actually live in Brighton. That's just where the office is. There's a few of us remote workers that work from the European office. We have a newly opened office in Dublin, and we are currently breaking into North America with our newly formed Canada office. As a company, what we do is we provide expertise in training using various open source platforms, learning design, pedagogy, site setup and config, project management, solutions consultancy, theme design, and like development and systems administration. However, us, Aurelie and I, we've been colleagues for a very long time now. We both met up at Cranfield University as learning technologists, and we are the e-learning consultants at Catalyst Europe. And we offer training consultancy on all the goji, so pedagogy, andragogy, hortigogy, and we specialise in all the goji
Not
berries.
the goji berries.
Not the goji berries. And we specialise in open source technology, so Moodle, Moodle Workplace, and we also deliver the Moodle Educator Certificate. There's the Totra LMS, that's the Learn platform, the Engage platform, and the Perform platform, Mahara ePortfolio, and then, of course, as we're using now, Big Blue Button. And just to say that our backgrounds are in teaching, assessment, and course design, and higher and further education.
So how does your socially distanced classroom work? So whether it's started already or whether you are about to return back to designing courses, what's the physical space like? What are the timings, the grouping? Are you doing online presentations and interactions? Have you started yet? So just post in your chat if you can just align and tell us how things are happening for you. And where you at basically. So whether you're face-to-face fully or you've got some online elements, and what's happening for you. So we've got some hybrid learning starting end of September. And also, have your institutions got planned for those learners who must isolate and can't come to the socially distanced classroom or lecture theatre or lab? What are the plans? Hybrid rotational learning. Oh, what's rotational learning? Is it bringing people in different groups? Yes, okay. So a lot of our secondary schools have been looking at doing that here, but they then decided not the class present. Yeah, okay. A lot of admin and organization here. Okay. Apart from the labs and tutorials, mainly online for Lisa. Okay, we can talk a little bit more about those different things in a minute. So the possible situations we've thought about and we've heard from other institutions are face-to-face with some physical distance between learners. So that's basically return to the standard classroom or lecture theatre or lab with trying to keep. Here in the UK, the rules are it's 1 meter plus, what they call it, so some social distancing, but also using bubbles or groups of learners together, which goes back to people in groups as well. Online learning, so with live interactions or with asynchronous interactions. To different degrees, and then the hybrid or blended, and blended being sometimes and very often a new kind of blended. So some people and some of you might already have done a lot of blended learning before. But this has to be targeted around the change of the physical space. So your online space is changing because your physical space is changing. So it's about using face-to-face with some online learning for what can't be done due to social distance, which may be some lab some group work or other interactions. And the reverse, the online activity with some face-to-face learning for what can't be done solely online. So Lisa mentioned labs and tutorials there. So what we're going to cover today, we can't cover everything and we can't give solutions to everyone for everything, obviously, but what we can do is give you some pointers and things we thought about might help. Some people are having to redo some learning design for this new context, and key pointers. So it's about finding the space to innovate. So the first point will be around a hybrid learning space, which we've already talked about a little bit. And we'll focus mainly on pedagogical approaches and Moodle tools that can be used. But some of these aren't limited to Moodle. It could be, it's about the approach you're taking. But because we look after open source software, we're using Moodle as an example here of what you can do. Clean and simple formats, so it's getting back to simplicity, making it streamlined. And finally, we'll cover an opportunity to enrich the learning experience. What other things can you maybe learn from the learning that you've had to do in the last few months, but also you can think of projecting for the future. What would you like to do? So the new learning space. So as we know, we have a new physical space. We cannot be like the first picture anymore. We can't even envisage piling up hundreds of students in the lecture theatre in that way. But we can't, a university can't afford to have the second picture either. We have to find a balance between using the physical space that we have and going over the challenges that some movement to fully online classroom has given in the last few months, and find a balance here. So talking around this, Sam actually puts a blog together back in March. Sam, over to you.
Yeah, and this is something that I wrote, back in March. So this is just before lockdown happened, and I was sat on a train with my computer in front of me, and I thought, right, okay, what would I advise my lecturing friends about getting ready to quickly go online if everything was shut down the following week? And I sort of thought about, okay, what things as a teacher would I have wanted to know as well? So these 5 sort of key quick tips I put together is talking about structuring your content. So, some of you may be used to using a Moodle template, so like a course template. Really make sure that you use your course template and structure it in a way that makes it really easy for students at a glance to say, okay, here it is, here's everything, I don't need to panic, I know what's going to happen, and I'm confident that my teacher knows what's going to happen. Then there's also a very quick way of trying to work out how to replicate the live experience. So for a lot of academics, they're quite comfortable in a lecture room or in a classroom, and they need to be able to quickly transfer what they would given in a live situation online. So, find out what tools are at their disposal. Do you have, as an institution, a webinar tool, like, for example, Big Blue Button here, or is it Zoom, or do you have something like Blackboard Collaborate? So make sure that you have those tools at your disposal and you know how to use them as well. And then there's things about creating opportunities for learning. So have a very quick think about how can you replicate what goes on in a lecture theatre or in a classroom online. So have a look at the tools like forums, wikis, all the easier to use tools in Moodle rather than really complicated ones like Workshop. The fourth one is really important. So those of you that have worked with learning designers before, there is a big importance about being present. So this is rapid, quick, online, get your stuff online, but it's really important to make sure that you are present and the students can see that you are there. Your voice can be seen throughout the course. And by being present, I don't mean be there 24/7. So whenever a student has a problem, you are there, but just, make the course feel like it's your course. You can be contacted if need be, and being used to putting like your office hours on there, so you can be a bit more flexible and say, okay, you can contact me in the evenings, but only in this hour every other Wednesday or something. And then finally, seek support. So don't just go straight to your IT department if you're a teacher and need help. You could see what your peers are doing, what your current faculty are doing, what others are doing online. Twitter is a really, really good place to go to find out what people are doing and to ask your questions. So this blog post I've put in the shared notes, and if you want to have a quick look at it, you can. Obviously, we are moving beyond emergency online delivery now, which is going to be the topic of our next webinar. But it was really nice to actually reflect back on what I wrote, and hopefully some people took some really good pointers from that. Aurelie?
Sorry, I've done that thing where I'm muting and started talking. So the challenges that we've encountered, I've just mentioned briefly in the previous section where I was talking about the changing classroom and the fact that we all went suddenly all online as an emergency. So the challenges that came out of that were the equality of access to internet, for example, and online resources, and where we found that some students and children or adults, whoever is studying, learners, will have difficulties connecting to the course or resources that are given to them. So that was actually adding a barrier. And with the new blend and mix with the classroom, we can actually start getting pushing these barriers down and actually use the best blend possible to enable the learning in and out of the classroom. With the accessibility as well, we have now come to a point where people have more time and they are more conscious of how much they have to pay attention to accessibility, and there are more and more tools to help you with that. And finally, the other challenge is the working in groups, which may or may not be a challenge if you're using those bubbles, for example, of learning. But there are some circumstances where even if you work in groups, but you have less groups because of a limited number of people in the classroom, the output of your group work might not be as constructive as it might have been before. So using the online element will actually give you broader results and a more engaged range of students for the whole classroom, whether it's so for those who have split groups, for example, online and offline. So that's to try and overcome those challenges. So now the pedagogical approaches and Moodle tools that we're about to cover. So first of all, one is scaffolding. We've talked about that quite a bit in previous webinars, and I talk about this quite a lot. There are different meaning to scaffolding, but here we mean two different things. The first thing is breaking down your activities to build that learning for the student, and using formative assessment to build to the final assessment, giving them those steps, but not necessarily feeding them all the content and the information, but letting them finding that as well. The other thing is scaffolding your content and your designs. We're using course template that Sam just mentioned, having consistency in how your module and course looks, so that the students have got also clear instruction and a framework. And one of the other thing is the guidance to the students to help them scaffold their learning online. And there was a really good tweet that just posted last night by Elizabeth Ward here. You can find this on Twitter. she's put together a guide on how to prepare for the seminar for the study that the first year students are doing. And it's just how to learn online, how to get ready, and all the steps they have to do, which I think is fantastic. With contact details, so that's being present as well. So it's well worth a look. And that's part of scaffolding their learning and their path, helping them building towards that learning. The other points in terms of pedagogy is communication. So using human touch, making sure you come from a space where you might, or the teacher or educator might have been delivering to a large class or a group of people. And if you switch this online, you're now delivering to a single human behind their computer. And so having that human touch and that narrative being written to one person, giving them instructions and advice as a person. I think the human touch also means using humor, being human, basically. And it goes back to what Sam said about being present. Look like you are here and taking part. Peer instruction is really important in terms of communication. So for this, we're talking about activities where the students can help each other learn, and that can be done without telling them they're doing it. So they give them an exercise and they happen to collaborate together. One of the things that Sam's looking at, an example in the couple of slides ahead of us, will be a Padlet, and that's a great way where you can build that. But it could be any activity where you can add peer assessment as well. Group work, essential to that communication, which is what we're going to come to discuss in a couple of slides again. So one quick tip, quick tool that I've used before and is, I put it as a low risk activity. By this, I mean, if you've not used this before, which is called Answer Garden, it's very easy to set up. And if it doesn't work because of, I don't know, the question's not what it should have been, or something has happened, or students couldn't connect, you don't lose much to the learning. But if it does work, it can be really good for reinforcing things like a concept that you wanted the students to look at. I don't know if any of you have used Answer Garden before. Feel free to put comments on the chat. So you ask the student a question. The student answer the question, so you can target it and make it 20 words or 20 characters or 40 characters limit. They submit the answer and it becomes a cloud. So great for brainstorming, great for classroom feedback, or for just real-time participation as well, if you wanted to add something. So feel free to use that. It's free, and we'll have a little activity later on where you can actually answer something in the Answer Garden as well.
So the next one is probably one that most of us have heard of. So I was a big fan of Padlet. I can't remember what it used to be called before. Was it Woolwisher or something like that before it changed? But Padlet is something that I'm very fond of. I'm not fond of the fact that they've reduced the number of Padlets that you can have now, but I guess they've got to make their money somewhere. So Padlet is, if you think of it as a virtual post-it note activity, which you can embed in a Moodle page. So this is a screen grab of one that's actually been embedded in Moodle. All the users enrolled onto this course can access this and just type directly into their Padlet. Oh yeah, Padlet and Wakelet. Oh yeah, I love Wakelet as well. Sorry. Yes, Roger, GDPR. Yep. Oh, and Mark's developing a Moodle version of Padlet. Oh, I love you, Mark. Well done. But yeah, so anyway, so this is a very easy activity to do. You can pose your question and get everyone to contribute. The great thing about this as well is you can save the response as an image or as a PDF, and you can add that as a resource to your Moodle course, and then you can wipe this activity and start again. Orally.
Sorry, I was typing. That's fine. I was just saying this is great Padlet to engage broader groups and those which are in a classroom and out of the classroom, but also multiple groups when you got several groups who come on different days and things like that. So you can use a single Padlet and get them to engage together and have a richer answer to some questions. So other communications and that can be used. I was going to say obviously, but some of you might not use Moodle as much as we do. So forum including announcements that go to all the students and staff, and some using for group work as well, or for individual answers and work in there. And forum can be either very informal or graded, and you can ask them to use references, like you're doing a mini essay. You can limit word count. There's a lot that can be set up and configured in a forum to make it happen. You can grade things, and you can also have peer assessment. So group work, which I've just basically mentioned by saying peer assessment, on the forum and wiki, but other activities in Moodle. But these are the most used that we see in our experience. That's often used in this case to communicate with distant groups, so geographically distant, as in people are in different places, whether it's already fully online or whether somebody is at home because they've had to self-isolate. Organization, so self-organization, but also group organization. So they could use the forum to actually decide in their group work who is going to write notes, who's going to post things, who's going to submit the assignment, etc. Individual response review, that's new in the latest version of Moodle Core, where you can actually answer a student's forum response directly as a moderator, and peer assessment as well, where you can enable this to allow students to peer assess each other's forum posts.
Okay, so what I've done here is I've kind of put together an example activity, which you are more than welcome to steal and reuse and repurpose. Aurelie, can you put yourself on mute a second? Thank you. So there's two ways to do this. So I want to show this plugin. So this is the group choice plugin. So at the moment, if you wanted students to self-organize, the way you could do it is by giving them a choice activity, give them the option of group 1, 2, 3, 4. You limit the group by number, and then you can just go in and select their group. And then you, as the editing tutor of the course, will then go in and put the students into groups. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. Using this really cool group choice plugin, you set up the groups in Moodle, and then you give the students the choice. And by selecting their choice, they're automatically inserted into that group, which I think is quite cool. And it was actually an academic at Cranfield that said, oh, I'm doing an MA at a different university. They have this really cool plugin where we can just choose our groups and just get on with our work. And that was a really lovely moment. I love it when lecturers come to me with plugins rather than me trying to force plugins onto them. Ooh. So this is the activity. Like I say, you're welcome to borrow this. And this is me thinking about, okay, this could be used for students who are both in the classroom and are working remotely. So it could be that you have this rotational model where group 1 is in week 1 and group 2 is in week 2, and therefore you have a blend of students who are face-to-face and remote. Or this could be done entirely online if everybody has to shut their doors again and we're into a forced lockdown. So very quickly, I have my pre-workshop activity. So this is like core Moodle, so there's no group choice plugin here at all. So they have the activity where they just go in and they pick their group. So it's a choice of 3. They then do a little bit of pre-learning. So they have a lesson activity all about rice. Not rice as in you eat, but the looking after yourself after an injury. It's all about dance injury, things that I love. And then you go to the live session. So there's a live webinar. So if you are remote, you can join in. If you're there in person, you just basically sit and watch. So followed by the workshop activity brief. And then you get into the group work. So again, this is, we're talking about group work because group learning is really, really important. And it's good to know how you can actually do it in an online space. So what I've done is I've provided links to a group portfolio. So this is imagining that these students also have access to Mahara. What I've done as a teacher is I've set up 3 Mahara groups, and what I've done is via MNet, I've done a deep link to each group. So all they do is click on the link and they are in their group portfolio space, and then they can work together on developing that portfolio. And I've also provided a webinar, Big Blue Button Room, so those that are remote can join in the conversation, or if it is a case where all the students are on campus, they don't have to sit in the same room. They can sit in different places across the campus or in the halls if they need to. So they can use the Big Blue Button to talk in real life, and then they can do their editing in their group portfolio. Now, these links, like I say, I go to a Mahara portfolio. I love Mahara, so I'll use Mahara whenever I can, for example. However, these could be substituted for any other tool that you have. So it could go to, say, a wiki activity or some other external tool that you could access through LTI. And then once they go through those activities, they've got their post-workshop activity, which is just a reflection task. So like I say, you are welcome to borrow this, reuse this, or perhaps you already use a similar model, and it'd be really, really interesting if you want to share it back on Twitter or somewhere. In the group, centre rights. Yes, so you can set it up so that everybody is a moderator. So this is using the Big Blue Button plugin. So as a tutor, you can set it up. Yep. Okay, over to you, Aurelie.
So the next thing we're going to look at is formats. And obviously, the most important thing is the content, but how the information is presenting to the students and the templating has a big impact. If they don't have to look for things a lot and they know where things are and it's clear on screen, it makes it a lot easier. So the key principles of that are accessibility, structure, clear instructions, and simplicity. And everything we're trying to do, these are the key things that we're trying to look at. So having a good structure, structure that can be repeated if we can with templates, or at least some of it. Clear instructions, so that's the narrative you put around your activities, not just have a list of Word documents, which was quite good in Sam's slide just now. And simplicity, keeping it simple. Okay, some examples, and this is part of the resources that Sam put together for that blog that we mentioned earlier for emergency online learning. So you could have a look at it. And I love these courses that Sam's put together, and I've highlighted in these the key elements that I think make these very well formatted and great for accessibility and for the student as well. So for this, the key point first is navigation. So there are different ways to navigate, whether it's the arrows on the top at the bottom of the page and here. And this is Moodle. This is Moodle out of the box. There's nothing special done in there, but it's structured in a way that you can go from different activities, in this case, to another activity. And then we have the breakdown. So in this case, we've got the main topic and different pages. Sam's actually said in the previous ones, we've got Big Blue Button, you've got different activities, but Sam hasn't used in here all the range of possible activities in the box, and that's the other thing. Choose what's relevant for what you're trying to achieve. And also in this case, what we don't see in this screenshot is it's repeated for the other topics. They rarely do new activities unless it's needed, so there's not a massive learning curve for the students as well in terms of their approach to learning. The other thing that I really like, and I often fail to do myself, is give an estimate time on how long a resource is likely to take, and I'm doing that more and more because I've learned from Sam. Oh yes, so this is our Count Awesome theme, by the way. The other thing I've just mentioned, that is the range of resources used here, and the fact that the students don't have so much to learn because they always use the same type of resources in this case. Then the other thing is the completion tracking. This is really much more powerful than we think tool in Moodle, where we can make a topic or activity with completion or course with completion and set conditions around that as well. The first point is it's really helpful for the students to track how far they've gone in their learning. Second point is the staff can actually monitor how well the students are doing in terms of progress, but also, as I've just said, you can use that to actually create conditions and how other resources might be made available depending on how much they've done and what results they might have on the quiz, etc.
And just before I already moves on, I forgot to say in my demo content there, you could see that I had all 3 groups visible. So as a student, I just click on the link to my group if I needed to. If I was a more advanced lecturer using Moodle, I could use a restrict activities feature. So I could restrict each link depending on what group they're in. So when a student logs in, they only see links that are relevant to them. So that's something that you could do as well. However, in this instance, I decided to keep it open just to allow students to then just wander into each other's resources and see what their peers are doing as well. Sorry, you can carry on now, Aurelie.
That's fine. No, it's a learning design choice, and all of these are learning design choice. We're not saying that's the one way to do it, so that's very important to look at that and with that eye. The next thing we're going to show you are examples of course templates, so formatting at the course level or the page level, module level. This one, I'll let Sam talk about it because it was mainly done with Sam.
Yeah, so some of you may have seen this last Christmas. So us at Catalyst, we are massive Moodle nerds. We love the technology and we wanted to share our love with you for Christmas. And so what we did was this is using the tiles format, and we created a Moodle page and had a tile for each day of the month. And what we've done is we've created our own graphics to put on each of the tiles. So when you use tiles format, there's one that's out of the box, which you can use an icon from a catalogue. However, here we put our own icons, our own images, and we did a date release on each one. So at 9 o'clock each morning, a new surprise appeared behind the windows. So this is using the tiles format. Or we can talk about her rabbits.
Yeah, so this is a demo course I've created again, but so in here, this is a very simple approach to the course design, but it's again using graphics, white space, and clear completion tracking to have the student seeing what you're trying to achieve. So I'm actually using a badge in here. So on completion of certain things, it's not every single topic and all the activities. That's another thing when you're using things like badge, you're trying to make sure it's what's necessary for the course and the assessment. So once the students have completed a certain number of activities, they have a badge saying they can care for their rabbits. So that's one thing. And this is just the only thing there. I've got announcements, and then I've got these tiles. That's the default tiles look that Sam mentioned that we've customized for the Catalyst Advent Calendar. And these are the icons that come with tiles. I've got different sections, try to keep it simple. And also on the right-hand side here, I don't know how much you can see, but this is called a multi-block. So I have, I think, 3 blocks on that page. And here it's displaying the course progress, completion progress. It's got all the blocks on there, but all I have to do is use the toggle to toggle those blocks. So that's keeping my page nice and clean, because blocks can be taking, as you may know, the whole column on your side of your page as well. So that's really nice and clean here, and it just can be changed. And the multi-block is available in the Moodle plugin, and that's been developed by Peter Spicer, who's one of our colleagues here at Catalyst. So just a quick summary for the course format is, if you can use templating for your course, keep it simple, not simplistic, but simple enough, clearly signposted with narrative, within the topics and around your activities. Check the accessibility, and if you have any other tips for designing courses and modules, please add things in the chat. That would be really good for us. So I'm going to take presenter actually. Okay, so the next bit is about all the things we can do. So as we said earlier, in the last few months, a lot of people have been transferring resources online, and we've learned from it. And now it's maybe a point where we can reflect on that and look at a space to innovate. So using quizzes is quite powerful and can be used in formative or summative assessment. The assessment online using marking notation and rubrics, and these can be used. There are multiple plugins you can use for that as well, but Moodle Core also comes with these. Mahara ePortfolio, which we mentioned, for displaying the skills and knowledge that students have got during your course. Activity or course completion, which I've mentioned earlier, and that using with restrict activity to give things like badges, and also all that feeds into gamification as well. So using the quiz and the badges, activity completions can help gamify your course and make it a little bit more interactive for the students and fun. So the next thing is about focusing in terms of improving the engagement through sharing human experiences. That's a big thing in terms of the learning design, is trying to make sure the students get an opportunity to share their personal experience, their human experience. That can be done through discussions, so discussion forums and chats, e-portfolio. So you can use templates if you have a specific topic you want the students to share their experience about, or without templates as well. And also using authentic assessment, trying to get their own experience. So if it's something they've learned to do and the skills they've learned during your module, they'll be able to display it. And sometimes authentic assessment may be using e-portfolios, or it might just be a standard assessment format, a written assessment or a video assessment. The good thing about authentic assessment is often it might reduce plagiarism, because you're asking them to produce something that is their own experience, not just regurgitate something they have learned. And depending on the subject you're teaching, trying to have that focus when designing the assessment is very important to try and reduce plagiarism, but also get the best authentic assessment of the students' skills.
Okay, so we're coming to the end of our webinar now, and I just want to sort of highlight what our next talk is about. So we're very delighted that Andrew Field, the e-learning manager from Cambridge Assessment International Examination, will be joining us, and he's going to be talking about, okay, so you've managed to successfully get to remote delivery. How do you then transfer all those skills, knowledge and experiences and develop yourself to become better at designing online learning activities? Because we know broadcasting lectures is not the same as online learning. They're very, very different, and they need a different set of support and skills in order to develop them. So the next session is October. The sign up link I will pop in the chat now, so it would be lovely if you could join us. Give me 1 second. Okay, let's take presenter. And then Catalyst in the Wild. So I don't know how many of you will be attending any of these conferences in future, but my colleague Aurelie and other colleagues Richard and Peter will be at Moodle Moot UK and Ireland. And also I'm going to be presenting at the Moodle Moot US online as well. So I don't know, Aurelie, if you want to talk a little bit about what you're presenting, but I'm going to be presenting about Moodle enhanced learning. So the joys of using Moodle and Mahara and MNet to get really fun activities happening online.
Yeah, so I'm not going to talk about so much of pedagogy as usual. Actually, it's more technical and service based this time. I'm going to talk about Moodle is best in the cloud and lives in the cloud, and it's great. Let's put Moodle in the cloud, but what happens after you have Moodle in the cloud? Who looks after your system and does migrations, etc.? So it's about the service and what we can provide at Catalyst to help people best utilize their Moodle and the capacity, especially now we need more resources technically to do that. And the other thing as well is if you need the chat, help, advice on any of the tools we've mentioned, just get in touch. We can arrange a chat and look into whether you need some training or whether you need a workshop for half a day or a day. Just let us know what your needs are, and we're happy to chat and see how we can help you.
Or if you're absolutely swamped, so many of you are learning technologists and learning designers, if you need additional support, Catalyst can help. You can hire us to come and just talk and do sessions with your lecturers if you don't have the time to do that. We can do that for you. So Aurelie, do you want to introduce the last activity? I know this was a new one for a lot of people.
Yeah, so if you have a mobile device or opening a new browser, you can go to https://answergarden.ch/1401008, or if you have a mobile phone, you can scan the QR code and go straight there. And tell
I'll put the link in chat as well.
Yeah, so I can actually
I've done that.
Yeah. Tell us what key points you've taken away from this webinar. Maybe it's what you'd like to do out of it, and maybe it was something new you learned, or maybe it's something that's been reinforced. What have you taken away? And it's also just a play for you to put something in and you experience using these tools.
Are you going to share the outcomes, Aurelie?
Yeah, I can do a screen share.
So people can see it in real time what it looks like for you, somebody who set one up for yourself. Yeah, 20 character limit. Yeah, so just put a couple of keywords in. You can put as many words in as you'd like. As
many as you can re-input several times, basically.
You can write Moodle 7 times if you want in 7 different submissions.
That makes it a big word then, because it makes a word cloud. You need to refresh that, I guess. Yay.
Never heard of Big B. Is that Big Blue Button?
I think that's the case.
What is a Big Blue Button?
Nice.
I think you're trying to write Big Blue Button. I think the character's stopping you. Character limit.
Scaffolding instruction, yes. Keep it simple. Stupid.
We talked about KISS yesterday, didn't we, Aurelie? And said, are we allowed to say keep it simple, stupid, or not? But you guys mentioned it, not us. So it's all
yeah, this is what I've just said. Earlier I said just keep it simple. Stop there. Yeah. Lots to learn, and we always have lots to learn. And this is why use us if we can help you. Just let us know. Simple tools, keep it simple. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing. Let people have. You can input a bit more. And here are contact details if you need us. So we've got emails here, Catalyst website. Just earlier, we can repost it. Richard posted the Catalyst email as well, which I realized we didn't put on this slide, which is the info@catalyst-eu.net, and our Twitter accounts as well. If you want to talk to us, we're on.
We're very social. You'll see us on all the online platforms, and if ever we're allowed to go to physical conferences again, you'll always see us there.
Just resharing my camera for the last bit. If you want to join me, Sam.
Yeah, I wonder if everybody puts their camera on, will it crash everything?
We could try, but maybe we'll stop the recording then.
Yes, just stop the recording.